I think it's a car that truly justifies that kind of work, that kind of expense and restoration, given that there's only 355 cars of the L series ever produced for the world. And welcome back to another week. I'm Gaston Rossato.
And I'm Rossato. This is season 7, episode 5, and today we're looking at the 1970 Ferrari Dino 246 L series. A very special car in the history of Ferrari.
That's right, guys. But before we get started, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure to visit our channel. We have hundreds of videos of very exclusive, beautiful cars. All our social media platforms down below. Let's go for the drive.
Let's go. This is my first time taking a ride in a Dino 246.
All right, well, it's Azzurro Dino.
Azzurro Dino.
It's a blue, it's a Miami. We're on the Causeway. I'm feeling the vibes.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You know, the cabin is obviously a little tight. You know, it's a 1970 Italian car, what do you want? But the feel is amazing. The car is solid. It sounds glorious.
It does sound
I love the vintage feel with the wood steering wheel. You know, there's so many elements here. And it really puts you in the right mood.
Definitely not a car you see on the road very often.
No, we're getting some eyeballs, that's for sure. I think people appreciate seeing things like this on the street.
Yeah, you don't need to know about cars to appreciate
a vintage car.
Yeah, a vintage
in general.
Exactly.
But if you are an aficionado, you're saying, wow, that's a Dino right there.
Yeah. And if you're not a aficionado, the design of this car alone just...
It's attractive.
Because they're so tall, it's kind of hard to see that red light. So you gotta pop your head out.
I'm trying to get the traffic light here. Small car, big people problems. But you know what? Those are the kind of things that you have to sacrifice. And I gladly do it.
Oh yeah.
I love sitting here and seeing the two humps right there across the front. You don't see the front end because it slopes down enough where, and the windshield's actually pretty long considering the size of this car.
Yeah.
Big dash, and then those two humps. It just gives you just an awesome feeling.
It's beautiful. I'm a huge fan of this rear glass.
The rear glass is amazing.
It's just stunning.
It's just the rear glass is an art form in itself.
It is, and we'll take a look at that in a little more detail once we step out of the car, because I don't know why, it always just catches my attention. That engine, though,
it's a V6.
Incredible.
It's a V6, but it's an engine basically that stems from racing roots.
100%.
That's how the engine came to be, and you feel it, you hear it.
It stemmed from the first Dino race car that was introduced in 1957, I believe.
1957. I mean, that's early.
It's early. Yeah, that was a 1.5 liter V6. Not the same engine, but that's where, you know, this.
Yeah, but the production car doesn't start. At least the idea, the prototype, doesn't start 7 years later.
Exactly. And an engine that was worked on with Enzo Ferrari and his son.
Yeah. It is a dog leg, so first gear is down, second gear is up. Very typical. But it sounds so nice. The car is so sorted, so solid.
It just has that very special note to it. I love it. First time behind the wheel of a Dino.
I love the experience.
Let me tell you.
You fall in love. It's an instant fall in love situation. Love it first drive.
And I love where I am, but I can't help but have the desire to go to Italy through the mountain roads
and really put this car to the test.
That would be something, man. All right, back at home base here at the barn. Renzo, always a treat to take out a Dino 246 GT on the road. It's such a car, you know, it asks for more. You drive the car the way and the feedback that you get in return, and the car just wants it. And it's so satisfying to drive and get out of the car and just feel that thrill.
It truly is a spectacular car to drive, and I hope that translates over to the video for you guys, and you get to enjoy it with us. Let's quickly touch base on this car and where it came from and the situation at Ferrari in these times.
It's a fascinating story, the whole Dino movement.
It is. So, like I mentioned in the drive, Dino was Enzo's son, okay? And he actually worked with Enzo on creating an engine for Formula 2 back in 1957, right before Dino passed away because he did suffer from health issues. So Enzo said that that engine was born from Dino, and that's his creation. So that's nice to know, right? Where the name came from, where the story derives from. And as if you don't know, Enzo Ferrari was worried only about his racing activities. He had no interest in production cars whatsoever, which created a huge financial issue for Ferrari. We know the story of Ford and Ferrari, that they almost struck a deal that didn't end up happening.
Insignificanti
That's your big ugly factory making its ugly little cars.
Well, in 1969, Ferrari did give Fiat the rights to produce their production cars. This right here is in 1970, so this is the beginning of this relationship, and the relationship continues today.
Right.
All right, so Ferrari, with this merger with Fiat, was trying to produce double the amount of cars so that he can finance his racing activities. That's all he cared about. So one of the cool things about this car, this is the first rear mid-engine placed car, production car for Ferrari.
Right.
And today, I would say that maybe even over 50% of their production cars are going to be rear mid-engine cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful. I mean, the car, like we said, it's striking from a cosmetic standpoint. I mean, the lines, of course, designed by Pininfarina, embodied by Scaglietti, meaning the actual shells were produced by Scaglietti after designed, and then sent to the factory for assembly. Correct. You know, a car that has so much history, right, from different aspects, like you said, Dino, Ferrari, Scaglietti, Pininfarina, Fiat, to make this creation. And I think that's part of the reason why, you know, they're so special today and so sought after. Although it's important to know that when these cars were brand new, or even into early 2000s in some cases, you know, the true purists didn't really give the Dino cars the stamp of approval. This is an actual Ferrari.
Right.
That did not happen. They were undervalued for a long time, and we all know what happened after that.
Yeah.
You know, this car here is very important in the sense that 1970 is the first year of the 246. So the car now gets a 2.4 liter six-cylinder versus a 2 liter in the 206 cars.
Right.
Very few 206 cars, I think just a little over 100 ever produced. Those are very sought after. But the next notch of collectability is this, known as the L series, because we know that the 206 cars were all aluminum bodied cars. And this being the first of the steel body cars, they still used doors, hood, and trunk lid in aluminum. So in the 246 line, it's known as, you know, basically a lightweight or L series cars. Right. After this, it jumped over into the M series cars, all steel bodies, still carrying the 246 badging. So
one of the reasons it did jump over from the alloy body to the steel body was because they were able to produce them quicker and easier to maintain. So this comes back to what I said before. They needed to up that production number.
It was part of a production strategic move for Ferrari. Let's make them steel body. We can pump them out quicker. And of course, what does that do, right? It creates all those early cars, making them very, very sought after and highly desirable for collectability. This being an L series car, in addition to those lightweight panels, still carries a lot of the cosmetic features the 206 did. Yeah. So it's kind of a transition car, right?
They're very similar cars.
Steel bodies, some aluminum panels, cosmetically the same in many aspects, but the new motor. After this, 1971, they just move on to, bumper design, seat design, full steel. Things begin to evolve naturally.
Right. So the 246 is actually like about 3 inches longer than the 206. The wheelbase is obviously longer as well. The differences are very minimal. The engine is probably going to be the biggest thing. We have here what we mentioned, the 2.4 liter V6 with 3 Weber carburetors.
That sounds glorious. I think we picked that up in the camera, that acceleration. I think it's part of making you want to give the car a little more. It's just phenomenal.
I'm honestly very, very impressed because I've been hearing about, we've had this car now for a little bit, and I keep hearing about how it drives and the way it sounds, and I'm like, but it really just, emotionally, it's incredible.
So it's important to note, as we did mention earlier, this car is available for sale. The link will be down below if you want to get a full picture, gallery, and description of the vehicle. We've had a blast so far with it, driving it. We've had the privilege of taking it to Cavallino also this year.
Yes, we did.
It was there only on display, not to be judged. But, it's always a great experience. Take it out, let the crowd see it, get some feedback. Everyone loves it. Such a rare color. It was born with this color, Azzurro Dino, blue Dino. Also important to note on this particular car, it underwent a 2-year painstaking nut and bolt, no expense spared by the renowned Richard Grenson in Canada. That was a 2-year process. That was about 2 years ago already. And I think it's a car that truly justifies that kind of work, that kind of expense and restoration, given that there's only 355 cars of the L series ever produced for the world.
It's a low production number, and I actually want to take this time to, it just hit me, to touch base on this engine again, because it's a very special engine, right? It's an engine that once it was introduced in the 246, was then used in the Fiat Dino.
Right.
And it was also used for the Lancia Stratus rally car.
An engine born from race pedigree and race intentions.
Right.
That goes down in history in my book. The car is very well sorted. We love it. Stamp of approval.
And it definitely does deserve a spot on our review list because it's a big part of history, and the design language, everything about this car is just special.
It's as perfect as a vintage car gets. So, guys, we want to thank you for joining us this week. Please hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next week. I'm Gaston Rossato.
And I'm Prince Rossato. Peace out.